Hello BookTube, welcome back to my 2025 library tour. In this episode, mostly science, but not fiction. That'll start tomorrow. First up is The Cloud Forest by Peter Mathiasen. This is a mix of travelogue and science writing about a trip Peter Mathiasen took to South America to journey around its rivers in the 1960s. I have tried this book twice, and on both attempts, I never made it to South America. I didn't get out of the Caribbean. Next is The Red Hourglass, Lives of the Predators by Gordon Grice. This is a work of nature writing in which Grice writes about a number of predatory animals that are in regular contact with humans. Most of the animals discussed are arthropods. There are 3 spiders, black widows, tarantulas, and brown recluses, and praying mantises for insects. Also included are rattlesnakes and 2 mammals, pigs and dogs. This is one of my favorite books on nature writing, and I'm thinking I might give it another reread sometime this year, but don't hold me to it. The next 2 books are by Carl Karenyi. First up is Dionysus. This is a study of the ancient Greek god Dionysus using a psychoanalytic theoretical structure, Jungian style. This book has been in my collection for a very long time, well over 20 years. Probably maybe closer to 30. But it wasn't until relatively recently that I finally got around to reading it, and it's okay. It's very dense. I'm happy I read it. Don't know if I'm ever going to reread it. This is The Gods of the Greeks, also by Carl Karenyi. So this is a work of mythological retelling, with Karenyi giving the having the conceit that he is an ancient Greek telling his stories. It's pretty cool. I actually quite like this book, even though it has been a very long time since I read it. And those 2 probably should be with the fiction, poetry, and drama section. Maybe once this tour is over, I'll rehouse them. Back to Peter Mathiasen with The Snow Leopard. This is a mix of travelogue and nature writing in which Peter Mathiasen goes to the Himalayas in search of the snow leopard. Did not get on with this one either. This is Physics of the Impossible by Michio Kaku. So this book explores the physics behind various science fictional science. So, say for example, is traveling faster than the speed of light, whether it be warp or hyperspace or wormholes or whatever. Is it possible? How could it be possible? There are, I think there's a chapter on space weapons and space defenses, artificial gravity, that sort of thing. I read this book around the time it came out from the library, and I wanted to read it largely because I am creatively inspired by science fiction. It's more fantasy than science fiction, but science fiction is an interest of mine, or had been. And so this book I thought would be helpful for an aspiring science fiction writer to figure out exactly what the science would be or could be. Although I do have a number of issues with the book, namely the Kardashev scale. Kaku makes the mistake that just because a space polity is galactic does not necessarily mean it's on that point on the Kardashev scale. But anyway. The first of two books by Robert Macfarlane that I have in this part of my library, this is The Wild Places. This is a travelogue in which Macfarlane travels around the British Isles. I tried it a year or two ago and did not get on with it. Which is annoying because I liked the other book by his that I have. Next is a return to speculative science. This is Imagined Life by James Trefil and Michael Summers. So this book explores the possibility of life, whether just life or intelligent life in a number of imagined alien environments. I liked it the first time I read it. Not so much my second reading attempt. Next is The Brilliant Abyss by Helen Skills. This is an exploration of the deep oceans, and it is quite good. And I have yet to give it a reread attempt, so for now it is just good. I have an issue with rereading. Anyway. Next is the other book by Robert Macfarlane that I have, Underland. So this book looks at various underground spaces, be it caves, tunnel systems, the crypts under Paris, fungus, mines, that sort of thing. I really like this book. I read it for the 2020 BookTube Prize Nonfiction Edition, but I have not returned to it. So, the next batch of books in this part of the tour are all part of the Animal series from Reaction Books. The Animal series is a series of short books about specific animals from a variety of authors that look at the animal through the basics of their biology, natural history, evolutionary history, relationship with humans, cultural criticism of the animal in question, and economic impact and exploitability. I have over the years amassed a small collection, and I have been flip-flopping over the last year or so of whether I wanted to actively collect the series or get rid of them, because I have had not much success with this series the last year or so. So let me now show you what I have from the Animal series from Reaction Books. Squid by Martin Whalen. This is about squid, and it is quite good. I really like it. I'm also quite fond of Octopus by Richard Schweid. Dog by Susan McHugh is a pile of dog poo. I have tried to read this 2 or 3 times, and I failed each time. I did manage to read Cat by Catherine M. Rogers, although this book is mostly cultural criticism. Hyena by Mikita Brotman is pretty good. And oftentimes I think the books are, the best books are the ones that kind of have as their sort of thesis a defense of the animal. I was disappointed by Owl by Desmond Morris. I rather liked Moth by Matthew Gandy. And Wasp by Richard Jones. Again, this one, I think The Defense of the Wasp really makes the book. I also quite liked Scorpion by Louise Pryke, which is the first of the animal series from Reaction Books that I had or ever picked up. I have bailed on Pelican by Barbara Allen. I have bailed on Swan by Peter Young, which is a bit of a mess of a book. Well, I read of it anyway. I have bailed on Rabbit by Victoria Dickinson. I should have bailed on Spider by Katarzyna and Sergei Mikulski. This book is largely cultural criticism, taking a psychoanalytic Freudian style approach to the spider. And I will once again say, sometimes arachnophobia is caused because your jerk of a father threw a spider in your hair when you were a little girl. There is no psychosexual mumbo jumbo stuff involved. Okay? And finally, Shark by Dean Crawford, which is fairly good. Again, Defense of the Shark. So, before this tour, I was going to unhaul the animal series. The other books in this group I'm probably going to keep at least for another year. But I was seriously contemplating getting rid of the animal books. And then as I took them out of the donation box of doom for this tour, I'm thinking maybe I should keep them, but I think it's back to the donation box of doom with them. So, that concludes today's episode of my 2025 library tour. I will, of course, be back tomorrow for the start of the science fiction and fantasy part of the tour, which will take some time. I have quite a lot of science fiction and fantasy, even though I have, over the last few years, begun a slow downsizing of my collection. My goal for this year is to downsize significantly. And part of the next few episodes will be me sort of coming to grips with which books I want to keep and which books I want to get rid of. So any book, big book tip, I will see you tomorrow with the next installment of my 2025 library tour. So until then, BookTube, thank you, have a great evening, and stay safe.